Então, bom dia a todos. Vamos dar início ao Tax Compliance Summit. Para a sessão de abertura, gostaríamos de chamar ao palco Elçim Sirek, Sales Vice President da Sovos, e Christopher Lynch, Chief Marketing Officer da Sovos. Welcome, Elçim and Chris.
So I would like to start with the single word I know in Portuguese, bom dia. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Tax Compliance Summit. This summit is one of its kind, and thank you all for joining us today. At Sovos, we are thrilled to have you today here and experience and listen all the valuable speakers who kindly joined us today. I also want to give a special thanks to all of our speakers agreeing with us about to share their experiences and expertise. So why we are here today? I believe all of you know it. We gathered to deep dive into the complex world of tax compliance and how it impacts businesses globally and especially each and every business of yours. Why staying compliant with regulations is very important and why it's so challenging and very complex. The reasons are tax regulations, tax rules and regulations, tax changes are sudden, relentless, and consequential. And my colleague, Chris, in a short while, will deep dive into this part of my speech. We have in the world over 18,000 tax jurisdictions. And I would like to raise you a question. Could you help me come up with number of regulation changes per month globally in the globe? How much new regulation changes might be coming, might be raising in a month? Any guesses? So I will give a special gift to the one who guesses the closest number. So any guesses? Per month, how many new regulations? Help me here. So, up. More. Any guesses? Sovosians, you don't speak, you don't answer.
Do I get to guess?
No, you know the number. So, okay, I'm gonna share 14,000 new regulations or regulation changes per month. This is why we are saying that it's very risky, it's very complex. So let's consider how often those of you who are managing international operations, working in international companies, are facing unexpected demands coming from your business partners or from tax authorities, such as complying to new e-invoicing mandate. And that's why staying always compliant, always on compliance mindset is very crucial, very important for all of us. With this summit, we are aiming to help you, we are aiming to help your companies stay in the forefront, be pioneers, be the early adapter on this dynamic landscape and explore, analyze, and anticipate the changes that will rise, that will come up. Again, today we will not only discuss e-invoicing, continuous transaction control, or filing, reporting. These are the pillars of tax compliance, tax regulations that we are taking into consideration while building our portfolios, our suites, our platforms. But what we will mostly discuss is what are the opportunities which are laying behind those different pillars and different areas of tax compliance. To all of you, to all the leaders who are present here who are with us today, your role is very crucial and complex in your companies. So your role is be in line, be early pioneer on this very complex regulatory landscape, and you are responsible for ensuring your companies remain agile, resilient, and focused when it comes to complying with tax regulations. So let's start this summit with passion and energy. And once again, thank you very much for joining us. Dear
right.
Chris, over to you.
Nice job, Elçim. It's nice to see everybody here today. I really want to thank the Sovos Portugal team for getting us all together. This is hopefully the first of many events we want to do just like this one, pulling together some of the most amazing experts in our industry in tax and compliance together to hear from them, hear about their research and how they're thinking about how the world of tax and compliance is really changing. As Elçim mentioned, the changes that we see in the landscape are sudden, they are relentless, and they are really consequential. And the way I like to think about this, when we think about the dizzying array of changes that are happening across the tax and compliance landscape, a lot of companies I talk to are saying, Chris, we feel like we're behind before we can ever even get ahead, right? Because there is so much change. They worry about penalties and other types of things that can come down the road. They often worry about, I don't know what I don't know. And today, what you're going to hear from a lot of the experts, researchers, and other people and customers who are going to be joining us on stage today is how they're navigating and thinking about these ideas and concepts. And I think you're all going to find you can have a lot to take back to the office with you as you think about your strategy for tax and compliance. What's really interesting in the market today is that as we think about tax and compliance, there's a number of different ways it's being addressed inside companies big and small, right? Because as companies go about addressing these issues, they may have different countries in which they're trying to do business, which have different tax jurisdictions. They have different business processes that are associated with those jurisdictions. And frankly, they have different team members who are working on different parts of this. So whether it's e-invoicing, which you're going to hear a lot about today, whether it's VAT, and the different obligations that you might have right here within Portugal or across other countries in Europe, as an example, the more and more business process, the more and more systems you add from a tax and compliance standpoint, there's some inherent challenges that come there. Number one, your overall cost is probably going to go up because there's really known costs that happens around tax and compliance, and then there's also unknown cost. The unknown cost often being the extra work that you or your team might have to put in to make sure you're staying compliant. And as that cost goes up, so does the risk. Inherently, as you're managing tax across more different areas of your business, the relative risk that you feel and that companies are feeling in the market right now has increased significantly over the last 5 years. So you're going to hear a lot about this today, about how companies are thinking about a lot of the indirect tax solutions that they have. And while the intention is good, sometimes it can compound our core problems as we think about how we rationalize technology with all of these changing regulations that we see out in the market. Now, you're going to hear from some folks at Sovos today. You're going to hear from Christian later this morning. I think he'll cover this in a lot more detail than I will. But today, when we think about this new compliance reality, you'll hear us talk about the rise of always-on compliance. And I just want to kind of help everyone understand what that means. In the old way, typically what would happen is you have a transaction that might happen between, say, a business and a supplier or another business. And typically as those transactions would happen, everything might flow into something like an ERP system or some financial system of record where you're looking at that transaction. The finance team would then review, look at that data and say to themselves, yep, this looks right, and it might be on a monthly or a quarterly or an annual cadence, and then the government would be informed. More and more governments around the world, especially here in Europe, are really pioneering a new way that is moving away from this company-led model that frankly is a little bit reactive to how you look at tax to a more proactive and government-led model, right? And that's where, as you have the transaction, the government wants to span the entire part of that process. So as that transaction is happening between your business and, say, another supplier, they actually want to look at that transaction in real time and make sure that it's compliant. Your ERP is still part of the equation, but it's going to be more informed rather than doing the informing. And really, as you want to be compliant, be ready to do audit defense and some of the other critical areas of your business as it relates to tax, you are going to need to comply with this process because the government wants to look at that data. And frankly, that's really going to become the ultimate arbiter of whether your data is accurate and the data that you want to use on a go-forward basis to help manage your business more effectively as you look at that transactional data. So you're going to hear a lot about this concept of the rise of always-on compliance. You're not going to hear a ton about our products today. That's not what today's about. Today's really about ideas and making sure that you're walking away, getting something really impactful that's really going to help you carry your business forward as you think about tax and compliance, because we believe things are moving to a more real-time model. If it's not in a country where you're doing business today, we believe this trend is going to continue as many governments try to address the tax gap that exists globally. Secondly, we want to help you figure out, how do you harness more insight out of the data? One thing that really excites us for our customers that work in finance, who work in tax, is that they're sitting on this amazing trove of data that can help their businesses grow and that can help their businesses adapt. And that's something that you're going to see a lot in the different use cases and things that are discussed, not just today, but in terms of some of our follow-up that we'll have for all of you. And then finally, just really how you optimize your teams and think about mitigating risk on a go-forward basis. Technology is important, but so is you and your teams and how you work with it, how you get the most from it. So we're looking forward to having these conversations throughout the day. Again, I want to thank the Sovos Portugal team for putting this all together today. It's going to be an incredible day. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elçim and Chris.